Every night at exactly 3:17 a.m., someone dies. The boy who survives knows one truth. The death was meant for him. At exactly 3:17 a.m., Ayaan Malik stopped breathing. There was no warning, no dream, no slow fade into darkness. 1 second he was asleep, buried deep beneath layers of half-forgotten thoughts, and the next, his chest collapsed inward as if crushed by an invisible weight. His lungs screamed for air that refused to enter. His heart convulsed once, twice, then stuttered violently. Pain erupted everywhere at once. Not sharp pain, not dull pain. It was total pain, the kind that erased thought and memory, leaving behind only one instinct. I am dying. His body arched off the bed, fingers clawing at the sheets, mouth opening in a silent scream that never made a sound. Something deep inside him snapped, like a cord stretched too far. And then, nothing. Absolute nothing. Ayaan woke up screaming. His body jolted upright, lungs dragging in air so violently it burned. Sweat soaked through his clothes, his heart hammering so hard he thought it might shatter his ribs. The room spun. The ceiling fan rattled above him. The smell of damp walls filled his nose. The hum of the refrigerator echoed faintly from the kitchen. He was alive. Again, his shaking hand reached blindly for the digital clock on his bedside table. 3:18 a.m. Ayaan stared at the numbers until they blurred. 1 minute, he whispered. I was dead for 1 minute. He pressed his fingers against his neck. A pulse. Fast. Desperate. Real. This wasn't a nightmare. Nightmares ended when you woke up. This began when he did. Ayaan was 17 years old. He lived in a quiet, unremarkable neighborhood where nothing ever happened and people trusted routine more than reason. He went to school, argued with his parents about grades, complained about bad internet, and worried about things that now felt embarrassingly small. Until 2 months ago, that was when the death started. The first night, he dreamed of being hit by a bus. He remembered the sound most. The thick, wet crack of bone, the rush of air leaving his lungs, the sky spinning violently as his body folded beneath metal. He woke up screaming, heart racing, laughing shakily at himself once the fear faded. Just a nightmare, he'd told himself. The second night, he drowned. Cold black water filled his lungs as invisible hands dragged him under. Panic ripped through him, sharp and animal. He woke up choking, coughing water that wasn't there. The third night, he burned. The fourth, he fell from a height so great the ground rushed up to meet him like judgment. Always the same detail. Always at 3:17 a.m. Always waking up immediately after. After the fifth time, Ayaan stopped laughing. He didn't tell anyone. How could he? Hey mom, dad, small thing, I keep dying in my sleep every night. Instead, he started writing everything down, a notebook hidden under his mattress. Dates, times, details. Every entry ended the same way. 3:18 a.m. alive. But the notebook wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the news. 3 days after the bus dream, the first headline appeared. Local teen found dead, cause unknown. Ayaan had barely glanced at it. Then he noticed the time. Time of death, approximately 3:17 a.m. A chill crawled up his spine. The boy was 17. The coincidence bothered him, but coincidences happen all the time. He tried to forget it. Then it happened again. Another night. Another death. Same age. Same time. By the end of the second week, there were 5. Ayaan stopped reading the news. He didn't need to. He could feel it. At school, everything felt wrong. Sounds came too loud or too quiet. Faces seemed unreal, like masks stretched over something hollow. He watched his classmates laugh, complain, argue, completely unaware that death had begun keeping appointments. At lunch, his friend Sam leaned across the table. You okay, man? You look like you haven't slept in weeks. Ayaan forced a smile. Just tired. Sam hesitated. You hear about those kids? They're saying it's some kind of pattern now. Ayaan's fingers tightened around his fork. What pattern? He asked carefully. Sam lowered his voice. Same age. Same time. Always at night. My mom won't even let my brother sleep alone anymore. The cafeteria noise faded. Ayaan felt dizzy. Because I didn't die, a thought whispered inside him. He excused himself and locked himself in the bathroom, gripping the sink as nausea rose in his throat. The mirror reflected a boy who looked older than his years, eyes hollow, skin pale, shoulders tight with constant tension. "What are you?" he whispered to his reflection. The reflection didn't answer. That night, Ayaan decided he would not sleep. If sleep caused death, he would stay awake. Simple. He drank energy drinks until his hands shook, took cold showers that left his skin numb, walked circles around his room, slapped his own face, recited random facts aloud just to stay conscious. Midnight passed. 1 a.m. 2:30 a.m. His body begged for rest. His thoughts slowed, stretched, blurred. At 3:16 a.m., his phone slipped from his fingers. Darkness swallowed him whole. He stood in a room he had never seen before. The air was thick and heavy, smelling of wax, ash, and something metallic. Candles lined the walls in perfect symmetry, their flames frozen unnaturally still. Symbols were carved into the wooden floor, circles within circles, intersected by jagged lines. Blood filled the grooves. Ayaan tried to move. He couldn't. An old man stood at the far end of the room. Tall, thin, dressed in a long coat that belonged to another century. His hair was white, his face lined deeply with age, but his posture was straight, controlled. Intentional. "You're late," the old man said calmly. Ayaan tried to scream. Nothing came out. The man approached slowly, footsteps echoing far too loudly in the small room. His eyes were pale, almost colorless, but they focused on Ayaan with unsettling precision. "Don't worry," the man continued. "Confusion is always the first stage." Ayaan finally found his voice. "What is this place?" The man smiled faintly. "A memory," he said, "or a warning." The candles flickered. Pain exploded in Ayaan's chest. His heart seized violently, as if crushed by an unseen hand. The room folded inward. Ayaan woke up gasping. 3:18 a.m. Alive. His phone buzzed nonstop. Missed calls, messages, notifications. One headline burned into his vision. 17 found dead. Age 17. Time of death, 3:17 a.m. Ayaan screamed until his throat tore. The next morning, he skipped school. He walked instead, through empty streets, past familiar buildings that now felt alien. His feet carried him without thought until he stood before the city records office. Inside, the air smelled of old paper and dust. He searched quietly, patiently. Then he found it. A document yellowed with age. Name, Ayaan Malik. Age, 10. Status, deceased. Time of death, 3:17 a.m. Cause, fire-related ritual accident. His knees buckled. "I died," he whispered. 7 years ago. The truth settled over him like a burial shroud. He wasn't surviving death. He was living on borrowed time. And somewhere, something was keeping count. That night, as he lay awake staring at the ceiling, his phone lit up with an unknown message. 7 lives were promised. 3 remain. Remember the deal. Ayaan's heart pounded. Outside, a distant clock began to tick. Slowly, patiently, toward 3:17 a.m. Ayaan didn't sleep that night. Not because he wasn't tired, but because he was afraid of what remembering might do to him. The message on his phone stayed on the screen, glowing faintly in the darkness. 7 lives were promised. 3 remain. He read it again and again. By sunrise, he knew one thing for certain. The answers were inside the house. His father's study had always been locked. When Ayaan was younger, he'd asked why. His father would smile too quickly and say it was work stuff. After the fire, after everything, Ayaan stopped asking questions. Now, he forced the door open. The smell hit him immediately. Burnt wood, melted wax, old iron. Candles filled the shelves, thick with dust. Strange symbols were carved into the desk, the same ones Ayaan had seen in the ritual room. At the center lay a leather journal, its edges blackened as if it had survived fire. His father's handwriting filled the pages. The truth spilled out slowly, cruelly. 7 years ago, the fire hadn't been an accident. Ayaan had died. His father had watched his 10-year-old son burn and refused to accept it. Grief had turned him desperate. Desperation had turned him reckless. He searched for forbidden knowledge, and something answered. Not a god, not a devil, something that kept records. The deal was simple. 1 life returned. 7 lives in exchange. Collected every 7 years. Same age, same time. And when the debt was fully paid, the borrowed life would end forever. Ayaan's hands shook as he closed the journal. I was never saved, he whispered. I was delayed. The candles lit themselves. The temperature dropped instantly. Ayaan turned. The old man stood behind him, exactly as he had in the vision. Calm, patient, eternal. You found the truth, the man said. And this, Ayaan demanded. Take me instead. The old man shook his head slowly. It doesn't work that way. How many are left? Ayaan asked. 3, the man replied. Including you. Ayaan's breath caught. The man stepped closer. The final payment must be given willingly. Fear poisons the bargain. What happens if I refuse? The old man smiled, thin and joyless. Then the world keeps paying for you. The candles went out. The room fell silent. That night, Ayaan sat alone in his bedroom, staring at the clock. 3:10 a.m. He thought about the faces from the news, about boys who had gone to sleep and never woken up, all because he did. When the clock reached 3:16, Ayaan stood. I choose, he whispered. The second hand ticked forward, and somewhere in the darkness, something listened. The house was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence, the kind that presses against your ears until your own breathing sounds too loud. Ayaan sat on the edge of his bed, eyes fixed on the glowing red numbers of the digital clock. 3:12 a.m. His heart beat slowly now, steadily. Fear had burned itself out. What remained was clarity. Every 17-year-old who had died so he could wake up. He pictured their faces, not the ones from the news, but imagined ones. Boys like him, same age, same unfinished lives, arguments left unresolved, messages never sent, all erased at 3:17 a.m. because he was still breathing. Ayaan stood and walked to the mirror. He barely recognized the person staring back. You don't get to be scared anymore, he said softly. You already stole enough. The clock ticked. 3:14 a.m. The air in the room shifted. The lights flickered once, then dimmed. The temperature dropped sharply, frosting the edges of the window. Ayaan didn't turn around. He didn't need to. He could feel him. You've decided, the old man said from the shadows. Yes, Ayaan replied, but not the way you expect. The old man stepped into the light. Up close, his face looked less human, skin too smooth in places, too cracked in others, like something wearing age instead of earning it. You believe sacrifice ends the debt, the man said calmly. It only completes it. That's fine, Ayaan answered. Completion is still an ending. The old man studied him for a long moment. You understand, he said finally. Most don't. At 3:16 a.m., the world seemed to slow. Every sound stretched thin. The hum of electricity, the distant bark of a dog, the ticking of the clock, now impossibly loud. Ayaan lay down on the bed. He didn't resist when the pressure returned. It felt different this time. Not violent, not sudden. It was like sinking into deep water, lungs slowly emptying as the world dimmed at the edges. His chest tightened. His heartbeat slowed. The old man's voice echoed faintly. Say it willingly. Ayaan swallowed. I give it back, he whispered. All of it. The clock changed. 3:17 a.m. Pain flared, brief, sharp, and then disappeared. Darkness closed in. Morning came. The city woke up. No sirens. No breaking news alerts. No whisperrumes. Parents sent their children to school. Teenagers complained about homework. Life moved forward, unaware that something had quietly ended. In a small bedroom, a 17-year-old boy lay still. Time of death, 3:17 a.m. This time, there was no waking up. But the story didn't end there, because some endings leave echoes. You're watching this late at night. The room around you is quiet. The narration slows. The screen darkens. A familiar ticking sound fades in. A clock. The voice returns, lower now. The debt was paid. The cycle ended. A pause. But life remembers shortcuts. The screen flickers. The old man appears, closer than before. Clearer, looking directly at you. You listened. You stayed. You remembered. The ticking grows louder. A digital clock appears on screen. 3:16 a.m. The voice whispers. Borrowed time doesn't disappear. It changes hands. Black screen. One final tick.